the second time. And thank everybody for coming this afternoon. It's our second last meeting before Christmas, and I'm going to ask anybody that's using the mic, speak into the mic so that our folks in our municipality and all the others that listen to it, our meetings, will be able to hear. So I'm going to report at a council, or out of closed, pardon me. Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the council receives closed session reports regarding a proposed and pending acquisition or disposition of land and personal information about an unidentifiable individual, for information, disposition of land and personal information about, I already read that, pardon me, individual for information, and further that council endorses the confidential direction to staff. Oh, pardon me. Yeah, all in favor of that motion? That's carried. So I'm going to back up here. Just finish this first, and then I'll back up to the disclosure. So the resolution moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. The Council of the Town of Minto approves an extension for Credak Business Junction, Palmerston, 200 Minto Road, Palmerston, to complete construction by May 26, 2026, and further that the Council of the Town of Minto direct the Mayor and the Clerk to sign the extending agreement. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. So I'm going to back up to our pecuniary interest. Is this? No, it's not. So Councillor Dirksen has pecuniary interest on a couple or three items under the Conflict of Interest Act. Today's December 5th. Item number and title, item 13B, the request for municipal support for the Nexus Renewables. The reason for declaration is our family farm does snow clearing work for Enerstore, which is a partner with Nexus Renewables on the proposed property. Second item is 13B, municipal drain maintenance assessment. Reason for declaration, our home property and our son's property are buried in the list of properties affected. And the third one is 17B, and it's a bylaw 2023-069 for the municipal drain maintenance assessments. Reason for declaration, our home property and our son's property are buried in the list of properties affected. So I have a resolution moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson. Minutes of the Town of Minto, November 21st, 2023, closed session meeting, and the November 21st, 2023 regular council meeting be approved. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. I have another resolution moved by Councillor Potnovich, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the Town of Minto Council convenes into the Committee of Adjustment. All in favor of that motion? Thank you. That's carried. Now we have a public meeting. It's MV 2023-14, Rowley, and it's at 3 Murray Way. I'd like to call the meeting to order and state that any decision reached by this committee today cannot be used to set a precedent. Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits, and no two applications are exactly the same. The public hearing is to consider a minor variance application, MV 2023-14, and Andy and Lisa Rowley. And I'll ask Secretary Treasurer McRobb for more information.
Thank you. The property subject to the proposed minor variance application is legally described as Plan 423, Lot 10, and has been municipally known as 3 Murray Way in the Town of Minto. The subject property is approximately 1.4 acres or 0.57 hectares. The purpose and effect of this minor variance application is to provide relief from Section 6.1.3A of the Town of Minto's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 0186 as amended, to facilitate the construction of an accessory structure with an increased height. Section 6.1.3A permits a maximum height of 4.5 meters or 14.8 feet, whereas 5.49 meters or 18 feet is proposed. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on November 22nd, 2023, and posted on the subject property on November 23rd, 2023. Reports and comments have been received from the planning coordinator for the town of Minto, as well as the junior planners and senior planner for Wellington County. Please, if there's anyone here, make sure you are registered to participate at the back. And we had no one that registered to participate electronically. Andrew is here to speak to us today.
So I'm going to ask Ashley Sawyer, our planning coordinator, to provide her comments, please.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair Turton. So as Annalee noted, the subject property is located at 3 Murray Way in what is locally known as the Minto Pines subdivision. The owners are proposing to construct a new detached garage with a ground floor area of roughly 1,200 square feet to store their cargo trailer and personal RV. The property currently permits single detached dwellings as well as accessory uses, buildings, and structures. And as such, the proposed detached garage is a permitted use on the property, but relief is required for the proposed height. It works out to a difference of 3.2 feet. Wellington County and and Saugeen Valley have no concerns with the application. Source Water Protection did issue a notice for the application, even though it's only a very small portion of the subject property that's actually in the wellhead protection area. Staff recognize that this property is zoned residential and therefore it has the same accessory structure height limitations as properties within the urban boundaries of Palmerston, Clifford, and Harriston. Despite being zoned residential, in reality, the property is located in a rural area, and staff are of the opinion that the increased height will have a negligible impact. All other zoning requirements are proposed to be met, such as lot coverage and setbacks, and we are satisfied that the proposed relief meets the 4 tests of the minor variance and are recommending the relief be approved.
Thank you, Ashley. So I'm now going to ask Andy if there's anything that you would like to say, provide comments. If so, you can go to the podium, please, and pick up the mic, speak into the mic. Okay? Then I'm going to ask if there's anyone else wishing to speak. Seeing none, I'm going to ask if there's any questions from our committee. Seems like this is fairly simple. We've had no objections, I don't think. And so if there's nothing else to, I'm going to proceed then. I'm going to ask Andy, is there anything else that you want to, is there anything at all? Okay. I'm going to ask Secretary Treasurer Rob to provide a resolution.
Thank you. I'll provide a resolution for approve, I think, at this point in time. Upon a resolution being carried or defeated, the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment is to be signed by all members of the Committee of Adjustment in favor of this decision. The decision is the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment approves the application by Andrew and Lisa Rowley for a property legally described as Plan 423, Lot 10, municipally known as 3 Murray Way in the Town of Minto, to provide relief from Section 6.1.3A of the Town of Minto's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 01-86 as amended, to permit for an increased maximum height of a proposed accessory structure detached garage of 5.49 meters or 18 feet. I would require a mover and a seconder.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Anderson, Councillor Cunson, thank you very much. No other questions? I'm going to call the question on this. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. I'm going to state anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of motion, notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment in respect to the minor variance application must make a written request to the clerk of the Town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harriston, NOG 1ZO, or by email to town.minto.on.ca. And I'm going to adjourn this public meeting. Okay, so now we're going to move right along, and you can stay as long as you want. You've never been here before, you said. Okay, thank you. Good luck. So I have a resolution moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment convene into Committee of the Whole. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. We have another public meeting, and it's the ZBA 2023-08, Gary and Wendy Ross at 5933 third line. I will act as chair of the public meeting, and You folks have signed the book, right? Signed that paper back there. Thank you. I'm going to state that if a person or public body does not make oral submissions to a public meeting or make written submissions to the town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the town of Minto to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. I'll ask Clerk McRobb to state the municipal address and the description, please.
Thank you. The property subject to the proposed amendment is located on Concession 2 West, Part Lot 24 with municipal address of 5933 Third Line. The subject property is approximately 20.62 hectares or 50.96 acres in size. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to rezone the subject lands to prohibit residential development on the retained agriculture portion of the property. The lands are currently zoned agriculture site specific A1 and are occupied by a single detached dwelling and a storage shed. This rezoning is a condition of severance application B5123, which has been granted provisional consent by the Wellington County Land Division Committee. The consent will sever a 0.73 hectare or 1.8 acre parcel with an existing dwelling and storage shed. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on November 9th, 2023, and posted on the subject property on November 10th, 2023. Reports and comments have been received from Wellington County planners, as well as the planning coordinator, environmental planner also for Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, and the Wellington Federation of Agriculture.
Thank you, Annaline. I'm going to ask Jessica Rahim, our county planner, to provide her comments, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you. So this application in front of us today is for to rezone the retained parcel to prohibit future residential development. This application didn't go to our standard A-5 surplus farm severance site-specific zoning because it was also located within the 1 kilometer boundary of the urban center. So it does have its own site-specific, so that's just the slight differences from our usual surplus farm severance application. And planning staff have no concerns with the application.
Thank you, Jessica. We'll move along to Ashley Schreier, our Minto Planning Coordinator, for her comments.
Perfect. Thank you. So as noted, the zoning bylaw amendment before council is required by the province to rezone the remnant farmland to prohibit the residential development. The province does permit for surplus farm dwelling severances on the condition that that farmland is rezoned. Wellington County's Planning Department, Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, and Town of Minto staff are in support of the application and are recommending council approve it. I did want to note, as council would notice, that we did receive a letter of opposition from the Wellington Federation of Agriculture. We did have a meeting with the Federation yesterday to discuss and clarify the intent of the zoning bylaw amendment, and they did verify they are not in opposition to rezoning the farmland to prohibit residential development. They did voice concerns on the fragmentation of farmland and that they would like to continue their discussions with county staff pertaining to severances, which the county seems happy to do. So town staff are recommending that council receives this report for information and considers passing a bylaw in open session.
Thank you, Ashley. Gary and Wendy, I'll give you the opportunity for a response, discussion, questions. So if you say anything more, you're gonna have to go to the mic. So what an opportunity, Gary. Is there nobody here from the Wellington Federation of Agriculture?
They are
Okay,
on the
they are on the Zoom,
Can
pardon
you
me. All
Give me
right,
1 moment and I can see if I do.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm assuming that this is Barclay Knapp or Catherine Noble. Barclay, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Barclay, is there any, so you're in, on the screen at our council chambers. You're not really on the screen, but we can hear you. So this application is, as you're well aware, it's the farmland of Gary and Wendy Ross. And so you go ahead and bring greetings or whatever you want to do. Go ahead and speak.
No, thank you, Council, very much for this opportunity. As we mentioned in our letter, fragmentation of farmland is something that we are concerned of, and we thought it best to give comment to this zoning bylaw amendment. Farmland is a limited resource, and we hate seeing it fragmented. We hate seeing it disappearing. We understand that the county is okay with this, and we wanted to make sure that the voice of agriculture was brought forward and was given comment on this.
Barclay, we certainly appreciate you being here. Thank you. Is there anything in particular in reference to this application that you want to speak to?
In regards to this application, I think we do already have it out fairly well in the letters. Hopefully that scene was in your package out to the councillors, which we do appreciate having. When you make fields smaller and smaller, it does limit the type of farming that can be done on them as well. And I know, having concerns from where I am in the county as well, people see this as an opportunity to have a very large lot for a very expensive home. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I do hope that this field does continue on in agriculture, but there seems to be people that end up getting around the rules that are causing a concern for agriculture's continuity in this county.
Okay, thank you. So, Gary, do you want to comment on this, please?
Yeah, I just want to ask for clarification. I don't understand. There's no farmland being fragmented. We did not include, there's no farmland being severed off. It's just the lawn. And the field isn't being made any smaller than it is right now. Same size. So
I believe in this particular case where on this resolution, we're stating that there will not be any buildings on this retained portion. Go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, just to clarify, so this zoning amendment is specifically to ensure that the farmland is not farther fragmented or developed residentially in any capacity. It can be used for cash cropping, which is what it's currently used for, and that is the extent of what would be permitted.
Okay, thank you. Barclay, anything further?
No, we greatly appreciate this opportunity to comment, and we thank you for having us as part of your proceedings.
And same here. We appreciate you being part of this. The farmland to Minto residents, I'm certain we feel the same way as it in reference to this as you do. And so thank you for your letter. And we're going to continue on with this resolution. So I'm going to ask if our council questions for Gary and Wendy. Go ahead, Councillor Potovitz.
You, Mayor Turton. Just a query, I'm not sure who to direct this to, but why do we have the policies in our official plan and zoning bylaw to not allow another dwelling on the retained land? I mean, we could allow it and put a zoning amendment on it that no further services could be allowed. I'm just wondering why we don't do that.
So
Just-
through you, Mayor.
Yep.
Sorry,
Sorry?
speak into the mic.
More into the microphone? Okay.
Thank you.
So the intent of this policy, because the lands are designated prime agricultural, we are still trying to protect the farm within the farmlands surrounding this as well. So the intent here that's outlined in the OP is to allow farmers to reduce their costs of acquiring additional farm parcels where the impact on existing and future farm operations can be kept to a minimum. So farmers are trying to sell off these residential lots, and that would reduce the cost of the retained parcel being farmed. So there's a standard requirement outlined from the province that gets brought down into the official plan, where we're required to rezone these retained parcels to restrict future residential development. Typically, if it goes to the standard A5 site specific for most surplus farm severances, they are allowed to put, say, a barn or a outbuilding on those properties. But because this one is located within the 1 kilometer of the urban boundary, we've restricted residential as well as keeping that standard that was already on the property to restrict farm buildings. So we're just trying not to create additional residential properties that could potentially impact neighboring farm parcels as well. Does that answer your question?
Yes, okay.
Standard throughout the province. Other questions? Okay, hearing none. Anything further from the Rosses? Okay. Oh, Wendy, go.
I just want to say why we are doing this. We purchased the property and the owner was allowed to live there for as long as he wanted, which we thought was going to be 10 years. No, 2. So here we are with this house and we don't need it. We tried to rent it out. That was a gong show. So now our son has offered he would like to buy it, but of course he can't buy the farm. So we're going to sell him the house and someday he'll probably be gifted the land. So it's not that we're trying to do something, build on this property or do something to it. We're just trying to sever it off. He has something, we still have the land that we wanted, and then someday he will probably have it. That's why we're doing it.
Understood.
Otherwise, the house has to come down,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful house, so.
And we have done this before in town of Minto. Personally, I think it's a good thing. Today in the province and in Canada, in the world, there's not enough homes. And so that home coming down, there would have to be 2 built. So, all right. Thank you, Wendy. Going to state that if you wish to be notified of the decision of the Council of the Town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the clerk of the Town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Hairston, NOG 1ZO, or by email at annaline@town.minto.onca. Where are we now?
That's it, with no further comments.
All
I'm
right, good.
going to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah, so I'm going to adjourn this public meeting. So, thank you very much. And we have no delegations today. Public question period. Here's an opportunity at all of our meetings. We have a public question period. Anybody want to come off the street and ask a question? Hearing none, we're going on to correspondence. We got a recommendation moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the council receives the correspondence as information. Is there anything in the correspondence that anybody would like to discuss? Or see, we do have a couple of letters of concern for the 660 Yonge Street in Palmerston. We have a letter from the Wellington Federation of Agriculture in reference to battery storage systems on prime ag, secondary ag. Anything, you guys? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you very much. And you folks can leave anytime if you want, or you can stay. And thank you, Jessica, for coming. Appreciate it. All right, reports from committees. I'm going to ask our Economic Development Officer, Belinda Wick-Graham, to present the minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. So
Thank
these
you.
are the minutes from our November 9th meeting. Prior to the meeting, we had a great corporate call tour to Countryside Concrete, and great to see how Warren's doing with that business and continuing to expand and grow. And it's a real neat story. So thanks to those that were able to join us. And it turns out the corporate call tours are really well received by this committee, and it's something they would like to keep doing. So in 2024, we're busy setting those up for them to continue to partake in. So just a few of the highlights from this meeting. Charlene joined us virtually from the Workforce Planning Board to provide a little bit of a workforce update and where things sit. As you'll note from the minutes, the unemployment rate was 4.5% 6 months ago, and it has increased now to 5.5%. She also shared some interesting statistics around women, especially younger women in the workforce seem to be doing really well, while younger men are retreating from the workforce, which was very interesting. And last week I had some meetings with employers, and they were saying they were seeing the same thing. So it was really interesting to have those conversations around why that's happening, at least from their perspectives. Also, the whole piece around refugees and the Ukrainian refugees and the opportunity there. We continue to have conversations with our group that's looking after Ukrainians. And ESL training in our area continues to be a big concern. The Ukrainian folks cannot get jobs if they do not have English, or it's very difficult to get jobs, as you can imagine, if you don't have that. So happy to report that Set 7 out of North Perth is providing ESL right now to our refugees. And I met with Joanne this morning. There's about 20-some folks taking that in Palmerston Saturday mornings right now. So if there's any way that we can support that continuing, I think that's really great. So we did talk a lot about that stuff at our meeting. We were also joined by Terry at our meeting, who provided an update, depressing update on the building stats, but promising update on all the work Ashley's doing in the planning side. So basically showing that people are gearing up and getting ready on that end. So when things improve with the banks and interest rates, that we'll be ready to go with all of our housing stuff. So lots of good work there. And also, we have some developers in our area doing some really cool projects around attainable housing. And a group of us are actually going on Thursday out to Quality Homes with one of our employers to take a look at their accessory dwelling units and what they're doing there. So excited to see what's happening there. Other than that, we have all the committee member updates, but those were the things that I wanted to highlight out of that meeting, if there's any questions.
Questions for Belinda? Go ahead, Councillor Potnowitz.
Yes, Belinda, could you bring back some information on the attainable housing
Mhm.
initiative?
Yeah, absolutely.
Quite
Yeah.
interesting, maybe for council to hear some of that.
Yes, for sure. And if anyone is free on Thursday at 1 p.m., I invite you to join us at Quality Homes. They do have some, it's like, I'm going to go with the bottom one, is about 500 square foot unit for 197,000. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, but they have 2 other options that are like 600 and around 720 square feet. And it's, I think, 249 and 299 for pricing. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'll happily share the information, and yeah.
I was talking to some of the county active folks on last Thursday, and they are pretty excited about this as well. In fact, is Yana or anybody coming with you?
There's nobody from the county coming, but I have shared all the information with them. So they are aware. And Howard, like the county has the Attainable Housing Task Force, and they are aware. Howard's reached out to them about this project and the ways that he feels the county and municipalities can support the efforts around attainable housing. And it sounds like they'll be coming to have a meeting with us at some point. from the county to discuss what's happening in our community around attainable housing. So we welcome that opportunity to share. And yeah.
So the moved by Councillor Potnovich, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the council receives the Economic Development and Planning Committee minutes of November 9th and for information and approves any recommendations contained therein. Any other thoughts for Belinda? I know there is people out there that believe that when a building is built inside, much better job is done. So this is a perfect opportunity for people to set one of these things in their backyard, or it's, well, all they have to do is build the foundation, because that's not part of it, and all the services and everything with that building are extra. So all in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. So we'll move along to the next one, staff reports in reference to the Nexus renewable request. Belinda, you carrying that one?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor Turton. So I was tasked with pulling this report together, basically bringing all the different departments' comments into one document. I will note that EnerStore continues to be involved in this project. They were here last year requesting the same support from council, which was given. And this is really Nexus and EnerStore together coming back with this. So you have the report. I'm not going to go through the comments provided by the other departments. If there's any questions, I'm sure we can field those, but I don't have anything further to say in regards to the report. So.
Okay, so we have a recommendation moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Gunson. Council Town of Minto receives the report ECDEF 2023-024 regarding Nexus Renewables, request for municipal support, and grants municipal council support resolution for battery energy storage system, Minto VES by Nexus Renewables. Questions for Belinda? The only question that I have, why wouldn't EnerStore not continue to run the flywheel technology and put the batteries around the property?
The flywheel facilities contract is done, and I believe they were doing some research around the future of the flywheels, and I'm guessing, I don't know for sure, that there is no future here for that as the province is moving towards the battery storage. And yes, like I said, EnerStore will be involved with the bid process as well as the build out. And then we'll look to transition the property and the project to Nexus Renewables.
No questions? We have a recommendation. All in favor of the recommendation? That's carried. Thank you. And I'll pass the chair to Councillor Gunson.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. We have one report today, and it's to do with municipal drain maintenance assessments, and Gord Duff is going to present that.
Thank you, Chair Gunson. So I've got my Public Works hat on today, and this is regarding some municipal drain repair assessments. They're relatively minor in nature. They are outlined with maps, and especially from the town's point of view, our share is relatively modest compared to some of the assessments we've seen over the years. And this is done in consultation with our drainage consultants and also Mike McIsaac acting as drainage manager. So we recommend considering a bylaw later on in the meeting for that. But any questions?
Thanks, Gord. I'll read the recommendation. Moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Podnowitz. Council of the Town of Minto receives report PW 2023-023 regarding municipal drain maintenance assessments and considers passage of the related assessment bylaw in open session. Any questions for Gord? See none, I'm going to ask a question. All in favor? It's passed. Thank you. I'm going to pass the chair back to Mayor Turton.
Thank you very much, and we'll move right into the Plan 2023-056, B8323, and it's the Winger lot line adjustment on concession 5, part lot 21. And I'll ask Ashley to take us through this.
Perfect, thank you. So consent application B83-23 is being considered before the County of Wellington's Land Division Committee for a proposed lot line adjustment that is approximately 10.62 acres of vacant agricultural land to be added / merged with the abutting vacant agricultural parcel. So the retained farmland is approximately 87.47 acres with an existing and proposed agricultural use. In 2017, that abutting parcel that the severed lands are proposed to be merged with were actually severed as a surplus farm dwelling severance. As is still the case with provincial policy, these types of severances are and do remain permitted, provided that the retained farmland is rezoned to prohibit residential development. As a result of that severance in 2017, that farmland was rezoned to the agricultural site-specific A-5. To maintain consistency, staff are recommending a condition that the severed lands also be rezoned to prohibit residential development. Otherwise, once that small red parcel is merged with that vacant agricultural land beside, essentially it would be creating a buildable lot if it's not rezoned, which would defeat the purpose of that rezoning of the severance in 2017. So that has been included as a condition of approval that we're recommending. We do note that lot area, frontage, and setback requirements do appear to be met. Standard conditions are recommended, including the zoning compliance, that all accounts are in good standing, there's satisfactory access, and that a drainage reapportionment is completed. I believe there's 2 municipal drains that'll have to be reapportioned. So we are recommending that council recommend to the Land Division Committee to consider approving the application with the conditions outlined in the report. And I'm here if you have any questions.
So recommendation moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto recommends the County of Wellington Land Division Committee approve consent application B83-23 Winger for land legally described as concession 5, part lot 21 in the township of Minto, and these 5 conditions be met. Questions? Seeing none, that's all in favor of the motion. Thank you, that's carried. So the next one is the Lavalette Limited Surplus Farm Dwelling Severance, Plan 2023-057, 5113 Wellington Road 87. And I'll ask Ashley to take us through this, please.
Perfect, thank you. So consent application B81-23, again, is being considered before the County of Wellington's Land Division Committee for a proposed surplus farm dwelling severance to sever approximately 1.56 acres with an existing and proposed rural residential use. So you'll see on the map there that single detached dwelling that's already there. And to retain approximately 98.84 acres with an existing and proposed agricultural use. There is currently a barn, you'll see at the rear of the severed lot there, that is on both the severed and retained lot. That barn is actually already proposed to be demolished, but we have included that as a condition. Otherwise, the barn would be partially owned by one property. One half would be owned by one property, the other half would be owned by the other. There are also 2 easements proposed in favor of the existing solar panels. That's just right behind the barn on the screen there. One's an access easement over their existing driveway, and the other is a hydro easement. Provincial policy does permit for lot creation in prime agricultural areas for a very limited number of reasons, one of which is for a resident surplus to a farming operation. The lot must be kept to a minimum size needed to accommodate that use and the appropriate servicing that's required, and again, prohibit new residential dwellings on the retained farmland. This is also consistent with the county's official plan. The intent of this type of severance is to allow farmers to reduce their costs of acquiring additional farm parcels, where the impact on existing and future farm operations can be kept to a minimum. And as Jessica noted earlier, to prevent the fragmentation of farmland farther. As a result of the severance, the retained farmland is required to be rezoned. We do note that lot area, frontage, and setback requirements appear to be met, and standard conditions have been recommended, including zoning compliance, that all accounts are in good standing, and that there's satisfactory access. So we are recommending that council recommend to the Land Division Committee to consider approving the application with the conditions outlined in the report.
Thank you, Ashley. We have a recommendation moved by Councillor Pottenvit, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. The Council of the Town of Minto recommends the County of Wellington Land Division Committee approve consent application 2023, Lava Limited, for the land legally described as concession 8, lot 42, with the municipal address 5113 Wellington Road 87 in the town of Minto, and the following 6 conditions be considered. Questions for Ashley on this one? Go ahead, Councillor Potnevitz.
Mayor Turton, Federation of Agriculture, have they been consulted on this one, or do they have any comments on this one as well?
So this one, we're actually, as we're a commenting agency, similar to like how a conservation authority would be. So they would have the opportunity to provide comments similar to like a neighboring landowner if they chose to. But generally speaking, the county just circulates those that are required under the Planning Act, which they are not. But they would be circulated as the zoning comes. We do that as a courtesy at the town level.
I'm curious if they comment on the last one.
Yeah.
Other comments? Right, I was talking to our treasurer this afternoon about after these are severed, how's the tax work on, we've got 2 parcels now, so we have 2 numbers, 2 rural lot numbers, and so I asked Gord that if he could give us a quick explanation, or if he didn't require the information, we could wait until at a later time. Gord, so are you
Yes,
thank you.
thanks, Mayor Turton. So, as usual, the severed parcels are generally small and residential, so they will be assessed as purely residential because they won't meet the criteria, which is grossing 7,000 and being actively farmed by a tenant or the owner. So they're pure residential, so the tax rate is a lot higher, by 4 times. Yet generally the remaining farmland is pure farmland with minimal buildings, like as Jessica was saying on the other one. So that will be assessed at farmland rates, which is 0.25 or a quarter of what residential are. It could be 1 + 3 = 5, you know, if they're assessed that way, but it's going to be usually not less than what it was before.
So that must be the new math.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, Councillor Bergson, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you to the treasurer. So I have a question. So the rate for the house in 1 acre, is that residential rate the same as a house on 1 acre that has been severed from the farmland?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it's purely residential, and it would be the same residential rate as a in-town
As a-
house
Yeah, or a farm residential.
or a farm residential.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, because the way you said that, it sounded like the house in 1 acre was at 25% as well, but it's
No.
actually at 100% rate,
It's
and
it's
it's only the
100%.
actual farmland that's 25%. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yes, and
Thanks.
So that is kind of a bonus for the town to allow it to happen. I mean, that's another positive in reference to allowing this farmland to be severed, or these buildings to be severed from the farm.
that's right, in general. And then, as I say, there's usually conditions that preserve the farmland, so you're, like it's Gary and Wendy Ross were saying, it's providing some housing, but also protecting the farmland without any real physical changes, so good.
Okay. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Treasurer Duff. Appreciate that. I'm going to pass this over to Annalene for an annual safety update. 2023-12, 2023 annual safety update.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Annalene.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. I'll just present this on behalf of Quinn Porter. This is an annual report that comes to you every year. We kind of go through a bit of health and safety review with you. We talked about the town of Minto experienced 5 reported incidences in the year 2023, 2 which were illness related, 2 were attributed to exposure, and 1 involved property damage. These incidences were attributed to community services, roads, wastewater, fire, and the building department. So in addition to the instance outlined above, the town of Minto currently has a number of open claims with WSIB. And in 2024, the goal is to work towards closing as many of those historical claims as possible. Also in 2024, we're looking to implement a new hearing conservation program, specifically in those workplaces that are louder than the standard 90 decibels. Ergonomic awareness and psychological health and safety are also priorities leading into the new year. The health and safety policy statement, and I didn't see it attached, but it is a yearly thing. And it just states health and safety policy objectives, adherence to the Occupant Health and Safety Act, conduct all operations in compliance with applicable federal, provincial, and municipal legislation, outline the roles of management and workers regarding the health and safety requirements in all workplaces, enable the joint health and safety committee to fulfill their proper functions under provincial legislation, and develop and maintain the attitudes and communications conducive to participation by all employees in health and safety activities. And we would ask that the mayor and the CEOs would be able to sign that on behalf of council.
So the recommendation, moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto receives report CL 2023-012 regarding the 2023 annual safety update and approves the health and safety policy statement as presented. Questions for Annaleen? Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
WSIB claims,
Yes.
and we say there's a number of them open. How does that help us, and how do we close them? And is it costing us money to keep it open, or do we lose staff positions?
I'm going to refer to CEO Mark Potter on that one.
Go ahead, Mr. Potter.
Through you, Mayor Turton, to Councillor Elliott, I believe there are currently 17 or 18 WSIB claims that are on the books. And as the report stated, one of the focuses in 2024 will be to review all of those claims with WSIB in the hopes of being able to close them.
Pardon me.
Oh, sorry. With the hopes of being able to close them.
Okay, so by closing them, what do you mean? Pay off bring them back to work? What is all of the above kind of thing?
So I believe some of the claims are just left open. It may be an administrative change that needs to be done on WSIB end. We just want to make sure that they are closed fully, and that way it's just not on the books. I think there's like historical ones, again, that just may not have gotten closed on their end. And so she will be reviewing those with WSIB to make sure that that is corrected.
Will we be hoping to bring some of them back into our complement? Is that?
I don't believe that it has to do with any staff coming back. I believe it's just an administrative change that is required in order to close these off.
And does it cost money for us to keep them open?
It can be like noted as an outstanding. I think it just, I'm not sure if it affects our claim costs or not. I see that Chris is maybe nodding his head, yes.
Just to follow up, some of our claims are when they are, I'll take, for example, firefighter cancer claims. They are ongoing and they will continue to ongo for long duration. So they might not be able to be closed. They are there until, with firefighter cancer claims, till the individual passes away. So that's why the numbers are so high. But some of them, the historical ones, as Annaleen said, we want to close off. Some we're working towards bringing them back to work, and some are just ongoing that we will not be able to do that. Because if you remember the cancer claims for fire, they were backdated to 1969. So a lot of them are historical, so they just are ongoing. That won't be able to close off.
Sure, thanks.
Other questions? All in favor of the motion? Thank you, that's carried. Next item has to do with the accessibility update for 2023. And Annaleen, are you giving that report?
I will try my best to give that
Thank
report
you.
as well. Again, Gwen sits on the accessibility with the Wellington County. So in 2023, the town has undertaken several accessibility projects, including the installation of new accessible picnic tables in our parks and beginning the development of policies and procedures that relate directly to the accessibility of services and facilities within the town of Minto. Now, these policies are hoping to be completed in 2024. Town staff continue to participate in the Wellington County Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, attending meetings and providing insight from the town. Recently, the county did notify the town that a member of the committee has relocated to the town of Minto, filling a vacancy that had originally just come up not that long ago. The town has applied for accessibility funding to provide to cover a larger portion of our new website, which is slated to go live in 2024 and is much more accessible than the previous version, bringing the town into compliance with the internationally recognized web content accessibility guideline. I believe that this report is just for your information.
The recommendation is moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Potnovitz, that the Council of Town of Minto receive report CL 2023-013 regarding the 2023 accessible update as information. Questions for Annaleen? Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Thank you. So when we talk about accessibility for buildings and the provincial guidelines, most of our older communities, small rural communities, it's impossible to provide accessibility into the buildings because of their proximity to the road. Is there any discussion about solutions to that? Because was it not 2025 that all buildings are supposed to be accessible?
I might defer that to actually Terry Kuipers.
Yep, absolutely. So the 2025 deadline for all buildings to be completely accessible was the initial proposal that was rolled out. When the actual regulations came out, they scaled it back because of that exact situation. They do kick in when they perform extensive renovations. So even with some of our downtown buildings, if you're completely gutting them, there are ways to have a flush entrance and then provide any sort of accessibility lifts within the building itself.
Thank you. So in addition to that, having experience being in a wheelchair for some months, even the government. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I said, having experience being in a wheelchair for some months, most of the buildings that have a legally approved access is not accessible unless you have somebody to push your wheelchair or have a motorized wheelchair because the ramp is simply too steep. Any comments on that?
Yes. So that is not the first time that I've heard that. There is a barrier-free CSA standard, which does, in the case of ramps, requires them to be at a lesser slope than the Ontario Building Code. The building code has slopes of 1 in 10 for commercial. So for every 1 foot up, the ramp has to be 10 feet long. For residential, it's 1 in 12. But for the CSA document, it's actually 1 in 15,
Right.
which allows for a person to wheel themselves up independently.
Right, because it's a real problem. Unless you have the railings close enough and you have enough upper body strength to pull yourself up, you simply cannot wheel yourself up. So buildings that think they're accessible, because Scott Wilson once said, "How did you get in this building? I've never seen anybody in a wheelchair in here." I said, "That's because it's impossible to get in here by yourself. Just can't be done." Anyway, just to comment on that, we still have a lot of work to do as far as accessibility goes. And I'd be thrilled to foster it in any way, shape, or any way, shape that I can in the community, because it's a problem for people.
So ironically, in Ontario with the ramp slopes that I mentioned, we're kind of the furthest along with barrier-free requirements in the entire country.
Right.
But I don't disagree that things can be better.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Elliott, go ahead.
Accessible picnic tables. How many do we have to have? And we got picnic tables all over the place. And do we have to have them in certain areas, or how does that come out? We have to change them all?
I honestly don't know the answer to that. Providing picnic tables is not a code requirement, so it doesn't give X number per picnic table have to be barrier-free. I don't know if the outdoor space design guidelines have anything that indicates how many are required and not. So fortunately, I don't know how to answer that one.
Yeah, because our pavilions are full of picnic tables. Do we have to have one for, or 2 or 3, or we probably should know that, so we're not so we're in compliance.
I will mention that to Matt and make sure he looks into it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Other questions? So go ahead, Councillor Potnovitz.
Yes, question to Terry. Do we have our own accessibility guidelines, or are we adopting the counties, or?
We have adopted the counties quite a few years ago as a guideline for our specific buildings and additions onto our building. It's not a document that's forced onto any new public builds or anything like that. It reverts back to the building code. In that guideline, it does indicate the required slope at 1 and 15, so it does supersede what the code requires.
Does it identify these, like these accessible picnic tables in that document, or?
Being that that document is not enforceable by the building department because it exceeds the requirements of the building code, I haven't honestly read it since it was produced years ago.
So you need picnic table police.
I'll add that to my roster.
So Terry, we likely can assume that the buildings, that the municipal buildings, arenas, anything that we own is likely accessible.
For the most part, yes. I wouldn't say completely accessible. For an example would be like the Harrison Curling Club. I believe the only way to access the change rooms is downstairs. So I know we're going towards it. Our main public spaces are barrier free, but I wouldn't say our entire facilities are.
And our streets, curbs, I mean, anything new we put in, we certainly make them accessible, so. No other questions then, if there's other questions? If not, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much, and we are at announcements. And I'm going to let south end of the town start first.
Am I south?
Councillor Elliott.
I only know left and right, so just want to, our parade in Palmerston was well attended. 52 floats or something. Somebody said 45 minutes to get from one end to the other. Huge crowd, well attended, and thank you to the fire department for providing that. It's great for our community, and you could thank them for us, Chris, if you would. And the Chamber of Commerce had their annual Christmas party last night, and Mayor Turkman and I were both there, and it was well received again, and we thank them for letting us be part of their organization, and we got quite a good relationship between the two, which is not always the way with other communities, but we're proud of that effect, and it was great. Thanks.
Councillor Potnovitz. Councillor Gunson.
Just another reminder about the Christmas dinner. Let people know that it's being held. Meals can be delivered or they can be picked up. Oh, sorry. Another announcement about a reminder about the Christmas dinner that it is happening on the 25th at the Harrison Arena. Anybody who knows somebody who could use a meal or would be otherwise alone, we can provide rides, we provide delivery, but we would prefer people to come out to the hall and enjoy some fellowship. And it's 1 o'clock on Christmas Day. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor Anderson, if there's people out there that would like to help,
just send me a text and I'll put you to work.
Okay, thank you. I would just like to echo Councillor Elliott's. I mean, we had 3 Santa Claus parades that were excellent. They were all very well attended, and our, a big shout out to our fire service. Also, there's been so many things going on in and around our town over the last month. It's been pretty exciting times, and all the volunteers and anybody that's had anything to do with supporting our residents, getting out there and supporting. I think I know that it's been a huge success, all of them. And last thing I'm going to say is I urge everybody to shop local. Our merchants need us this year, likely more than any, so thank you for that. Resolution moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the committee of the whole convene in regular committee, in regular council. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Notice of motions. Hearing none. Resolution by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Potnovitz, that the council, Town of Minto, ratifies the motions made in the committee of the whole. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Bylaws, resolution moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Gunson. Bylaw 2023-068 to amend zoning for 5933 third line be read first, second, and third time, passed in open council and sealed with sealed corporation. All in favor of that motion? Carried. Thank you. Municipal drain maintenance assessment moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Gunson. With bylaw 2023-069, the levy municipal drain maintenance assessments be read first, second, and third time, passed in open council, sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. The conformatory bylaw moved by Councillor Poddewitt, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. Bylaw 2023-070 to confirm the action of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Minto respecting a meeting held December 5th, 2023 be read a first, second, and third time, passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor? Adjournment. Resolution moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the Council of the Town of Minto adjourns. Meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor of that motion? Thank you for a terrific meeting.